Welcome to Replenish the Atmosphere of Discovery, where we discover the master's plan for our lives. So today's session is on time, T-I-M-E. Okay, so time is the measured period during which an action, process, or condition exists. Time is the measured period during which an action, process, or condition exists. Time also is a measurable period in which an action, process, or condition continues, right? So action, we know, is something that you do or something that is done by someone else. A process is a series of actions or a series of steps, and a condition is the state or circumstances of something or someone, right? It is the influence that is the result of a certain circumstance. And so when we say condition, it could be the state of something, the state of your health, the state of your mind, the state of your finances, right? So time is the measured period during which an action, process, or condition exists or continues, okay? So if an event happened, if something or someone existed, right, the period of its existence is measurable by time, okay? So time is a measurement. That's the point I'm trying to make, right? So if a process is continuing in your mind, in your life, or in your generations, then it is measurable by time, okay? So whatever is measurable by time exists, okay? That means it is. That means it happened. That means you can quantify it, right? And if something exists, whether in thought or action, right? If something exists, and I'm talking about action or thought, right? If something exists, it can be assessed, right? And if you can assess it, you can govern it, right? Whatever is measurable by time exists. And if something exists, it can be assessed. And if you can assess it, if you can evaluate it, if you can see it, that means you can govern it. Okay? So, how are you measuring your time? What have you done or what are you doing with your time? Okay? How much time do you spend doing whatever you're doing? How much time do you spend processing? How much time do you remain in a certain condition or a certain circumstance, right? You are in control of the time you use, okay? And I hope that you are measuring the quality, value, and effects that your actions, your processes, and your conditions have on your life, okay? So I know when you hear the word time, you might think we're talking about years and minutes and hours. We're going to go a little deeper, a little past that. Okay, so as you begin your journey and purpose, you recognize that it takes time for your identity to catch up with your new reality. You cannot skip steps in that process. You must manage your time. Okay, manage how much time you stay in any process, right? In any thought. Manage how much time you feel a certain way. Manage how much time you spend in a certain mood, right? We're real stubborn about what we think and feel, right? That's the hardest part of changing. Okay, we can easily change our outer surroundings, right? We can move away from something. We can change how we look or how we appear to people, right? But changing our minds and perceptions to match our new reality, that is the hardest part of changing. Okay, that takes time. And it only takes time because our soul, right, which is our will and our emotions, has to separate from the life that we once lived, right, before we discovered the master's plan. Okay, so your soul has to separate from the traditions and the habits. Your soul has to separate from the ideas and the language. Like your language have to change, like what you say and how you think has to change. The people you're around has to change. Your opinion has to change. Your goals change. Your feelings change, right? When you're separating yourself from that old way of living. Okay, and so that takes time to discover what's attached that shouldn't be. It takes time to discover what's not attached that should be attached to you, right? And so that's why it's so hard to change your mind about what's happening in your life once God gives you that revelation of who you are and what you were created to be. You have to get your mind right. You have to get your heart right, not just your surroundings. Because if you think about like lottery winners, they end up going broke after a few years because the numbers in their bank account might have changed, but their identity around money has not changed, right? They didn't change their mindset. So it doesn't matter how much money you have or that you get. If you have a poverty mindset, you're going to remain in poverty. And so that's the same concept. And so that's why we have these sessions every week to train your mind to stay in line with your purpose. Okay. The time frame between your true identity separating from the old identity, that's up to you. That's up to you on how stubborn you are about what you think and how you feel. That's up to you about how much you don't want to let go. Your soul doesn't want to let go. Your will, your emotions don't want to let go of that old life, of those old ideas, of those old goals that had you going opposite of the direction that God needed you to go, right? So if you can assess and evaluate what exists in your world, you can govern it. If you can assess and evaluate what's going on in your world, meaning your thoughts, your actions, your feelings, if you can evaluate it, then you can govern it. Okay. Can you control time? Yes, you can. When you start to govern what has continued to exist in your world, that's how you control it. You begin to manage it. Okay. You measure your time by the evaluation of your assessment, right? Not anybody else's evaluation. All right. We can tell people what we think about something, but it's your assessment that can change what happens with you. Okay. Not everybody else's opinion, your assessment, right? That requires you to be honest about what's wasting your time. Okay. Other people can assume, other people can look and see, and you have some people who are wise that are telling the truth, but then you have some people who are not. Wasted time is non-addressed actions, processes, and conditions. Wasted time is non-addressed actions, processes, or conditions. And I'm talking about your thoughts, your feelings, your health, your finances, your family, right? Your entire life, whatever is not addressed, you're wasting time in it. Okay. Every part of you that exists, has existed, or will exist, right? You must evaluate all of it. So that includes evaluating your past, your present, and your future. Okay. Evaluating your bloodline, right? Those before you and those that are coming up behind you. All of these are measured in time, right? It's all measured in time. If you never address what is measured by time, you will continue to exist or live outside of your true identity, right? And you will easily become a forgettable memory, okay? But we are here to make a difference. We are here to make a mark, to be history, right? The world should remain connected with you, with your values, with your eternal purpose, okay? Your purpose should live longer than your physical presence, right? So long after you're physically gone, your purpose should remain. Your name, and I'm not talking about your name like the letters of your name. I mean the essence of you, the core of you, right? Your name isn't supposed to die just because your flesh does, right? We're supposed to leave a mark long after our body goes in the ground, right? And so most of us have been measuring time by our moods, right? If you feel like it, if it goes well, then you say, oh, it was a good time, right? It measured good in your life events category, right? If it wasn't favorable or to your liking, then it was a bad time. Then you say it was wasted time, right? If it wasn't favorable to you, that doesn't necessarily mean it was wasted time, right? Even a good time is wasted when you don't evaluate your actions, your processes, or the condition. When you don't count the cost, it's still wasted time, whether you had a good time or not, right? Wasted time is not based on your mood or how you feel about something. You cannot measure time like that. You cannot measure that this time was wasted based on how you feel, based on your mood, okay? A good time or moment in your life is not measured by your mood, okay? We cannot let our feelings dictate what we think and what we do, right? The feeling may be real, but it could be a lie, okay? This is measured by your honest evaluation, what you have come to the conclusion of with your past, present, and future in mind, okay? That's how time is measured, okay? When you have counted the cost of every action, every process, every condition, continuing in your life and existing in your life and how it affected, is affecting, or will affect you, only then can you determine if your time was wasted or if you governed it well. Okay, you can't just take the past and say, oh, that was wasted time without counting the cost of what's happening with it present day, what's going to happen with that in your future, right? So before you determine what's wasted and what's governed well, you have to count the cost and you have to consider past, present, and future, okay? So stop measuring your moments by your mood, okay? When you measure your moments by your mood, you measure the value of your life by the time you feel you wasted instead of the cost that you've counted, okay? That's what happens when you measure your life by how you feel, okay? If you made a decision based on the evaluation of your past, present, and future, and it was the best decision, you have not wasted your time, okay? That should have freed a lot of you right there. You've based your life's value on your mood, your opinions, your poor decisions, instead of measuring it based on your good decisions in spite of your mood, in spite of yourself, right? You didn't commit murder because you counted the cost, right? You didn't go to jail because you counted the cost, right? You didn't end your life because you counted the cost, right? You had to evaluate the past, what's going on right now, and what my future will look like if I do this, right? You didn't take the promotion because you would have to lie and steal. You counted the cost, right? You decided to leave that bad relationship because you counted the cost, right? You decided to follow Jesus because you counted the cost. You saw what your future and your past looked like, right? And you wanted a better one. So these moments are not wasted time. This is time governed well, right? And that's such an easy trick for the enemy to use by saying, well, you wasted so much time, so basically continue wasted time. No, we're going to begin to govern and manage our time well, okay? So stop listening to people that's not living life well. They're lying to you, okay? They're still stuck doing the same thing, the same way, in the same condition. And sad to say, some of those people are those of us that are here on this line, right? We have an opinion that we're not living ourselves, right? We're giving the 2 cents that we're not spending, okay? It does no good to discover God's plan, to read his word, and don't do what we know, right? So we want to speed up the time that it takes for our mind to match our discovery of who God has created to be. We want to shorten that time. We don't want it to take 5 years from discovery to doing, right? We want to shorten that time, okay? Stubbornness is a waste of time. Pride and ego waste time, right? You're not counting the cost of sticking with that perception. of having that same mindset. You're not counting the cost of keeping that same train of thought. You're not counting the cost of holding on to those feelings that's causing you to stay stuck where you are, right? It's too high of a cost for you to stay the same. It does no good to have the knowledge of who you were created to be if you do nothing with it. Okay. And so we even measure our perfection based on what we feel is wasted time. But remember, perfection is fulfillment of your purpose, not everybody else, what everybody else thinks your purpose is, right? Perfection is when you fulfill your purpose. Okay. It's not mama's purpose for you. It's not daddy's purpose for you. It's not your friend's purpose for you. Right. And that's why a lot of you have not reached perfection, because you are busy operating in somebody else's purpose. Okay. Taking your time. Taking your time is not wasted time if you are taking your time governing it, right? But if you are taking your time because of fear and you lack management in it, you're still wasting time. So you can't say, oh, I'm just taking my time. If you're doing that in fear and you're still not managing the time that you're using, you're still wasting time. Okay? Any unmanaged time is wasted time. If you are writing, write that down. Any unmanaged time is wasted time, no matter the mood, right? It doesn't matter how you feel about it. You can feel like it was a good time. Doesn't mean that it was a good time. Doesn't mean that you governed that time well. If you counted the costs, right? If you counted the cost, then you can determine if you've governed that time well. So managing your time means making some adjustments, right? You're going to have to revise some stuff. That means something needs to be corrected, updated, or improved. You're going to have to make some improvements with your time, right? Managing your time means you got to do some evaluations, right? You have to make some judgment calls. Some decisions are going to need to be made. Okay. Managing your time means you need to observe. You need to monitor what you're doing with your time. Stop ignoring stuff, right? Look at the patterns in your generation. Look at the patterns in your family. Look at the patterns even in your career, in your friendships. Look at the patterns in your feelings. Check the progress, right? That's what's included in managing your time. You can't just ignore everything that you're feeling, ignore everything that you're thinking, or the way that you think. You can't ignore it. If it's causing you to not progress, it's a problem. So you're going to have to make some adjustments, right? And here's something to realize. Your wasted time here on earth doesn't count in eternity, right? Just as our lives are a vapor here while on earth, so is our wasted time in eternity. It's a vapor, right? So we have to practice not wasting time here, because we're not going to waste time there, right? We're not. So we have to practice that here. Can you truly even measure a vapor? Can you measure a breath, right? And so we spend a lot of time fixating on these vapors, fixating on these wasted times, right? Instead of being focused of making the best of our time here. We waste time on the shoulda, woulda, couldas. You know what those are? Those are vapors. It's just, right? It's nothing. It's nothing compared to eternity. Regret, it's a vapor, right? The way you have the best time on earth is to do what you were created to do. And God put something in us where we won't get satisfaction until we do that. We will try every other thing, and it doesn't matter how much money you have, how much influence you have, right? He put something in you that you will not feel satisfied. You will not feel fulfilled until you operate in the purpose he created you. So that thing you're searching for that you haven't found yet is purpose, right? We spend a lot of time doing everything else but what we were formed and fashioned so wonderfully to do, right? We are fearfully and wonderfully made. And being wonderfully made means that God separated you specifically to do this one thing and equipped you to do it well. And so your frustration is coming is because you're trying to do other things well, and you're running from the thing that he called you to do well, that he equipped you to do well, right? So stop trying so hard to do everything else. Because when you die, you will realize that all of that was just a vapor. It's just wasted time. No matter how good it was, it could be really, really, really good. But if it's not your purpose, it's a vapor. Do you understand what I mean? You did not do what you were created. He shaped and formed and fashioned you wonderfully to do this thing, right? And to do it well. Okay? Your life should be measured by if you did what was written for you to do from before the foundation of the world. That's how your life is measured. Hang up that wasted time. Get rid of those little vapors, right? You can't do anything about that, right? So this is what I want you to change your perspective to be. Making eternal moments in a temporary world. Okay? Where God is not tearing out the pages of what he wrote for you because you've wasted time fighting against your purpose, avoiding your purpose, going in the wrong direction, right? You want what God has written for you to remain, for him to be able to say, well done. She did that. He did that, right? Eternal moments on earth echo in eternity. Okay? Eternal moments on earth echo into eternity. There are witnesses of the fulfillment of your purpose, right? When you obey and you decide to get back on track, heaven rejoices, right? They're watching your eternal moments. They're not watching the vapors. Okay, the Bible tells us that heaven rejoices when the sinners repent, right? There's a great cloud of witnesses. They're watching you, but they're watching you so that you can fulfill your purpose. So they have a reason to rejoice, right? So the sum of our life is not measured in years and hours and minutes like we tend to think, okay? It is measured in purpose. How much time did you spend in purpose versus outside of purpose? You can be 5 years old and have fulfilled your purpose. You can be 55 and haven't even started yet, right? So the time in years on this earth is insignificant if you have not achieved the basis of your existence, okay? Some of you have been busy exploring every curiosity that is contrary to your purpose instead of the ones that align with your purpose, right? There's certain curiosities that God will allow you to have that aligns with your purpose. And then there's one that takes you the opposite direction, right? Curiosity is not bad if it is led by purpose, right? But not followed by purpose. You don't want to be curious about something and then you decide this is my purpose. No, you want your purpose to lead you into that curiosity. Does that make sense? It's not bad if it is led by purpose, but if your purpose is following that, that's a problem. Okay. So, you know the difference because a curious distraction will take your focus. It will take your productivity. It will stunt your growth, right? But a curious attraction brings about growth and action in the direction of your purpose. That's how you can tell the difference between a curious distraction and a curious attraction, okay? But thankfully, we serve a God that can redeem the time, right? He can restore what was wasted in our blind ignorance and our willful ignorance, right? Because some of us know what we're supposed to do. We've been known, but we haven't done it, right? So that's willful ignorance. But God can redeem that time. We must make the decision to change our minds about a whole lot of stuff. Okay, we must do what it takes to separate ourselves from the stuff that keeps us wasting time, right? Time is measured in purpose fulfillment. That's how I want you to look at time from now on, okay? Your eternal purpose will echo in history. So don't let your lives remain vapors. okay? Focus on your created purpose so that those watching you can rejoice in your perfection. And remember, our purpose is not just our personal created purpose, right? We also have purpose that is attached to the purpose of others. Okay, so every day there is a purpose, right? You have your purpose why you were created, and then you have purpose daily. You're supposed to be in this place, right? You're supposed to talk to this person, right? And so when you fulfill those things, you have achieved perfection, right? So I want you to be aware of any unmanaged time. Any unmanaged time is wasted time, and wasted time is a vapor, right? So if you have been focused on how much time it takes to do something, right? Or how much time that you spent going the opposite direction, right? Today, you can change the trajectory of where your life is going, right? And so I want you to think about and count the cost of your actions, your processes, your conditions, right? We're not going to look at time in years and minutes anymore, okay? We're going to look at time based on, have we fulfilled our purpose, okay? So that concludes our session for today. I pray that you all received something. I pray that you were set free from something. I pray that you will receive strength and focus, productivity. I pray that you will grow in the things that you were created to do. Okay, shake off some of those ideas and opinions that had you operating in your great grandpa's purpose. Okay, that may not be your purpose. That might have been his purpose, right? That may have been your aunt's purpose. That may have been your friend's purpose, and they didn't want to do it, so they put it on you. Okay, I want you to think about that. And so I want to end with our statement, which says, I am in recovery. I have discovered who God has created me to be. And I haven't just discovered it, I'm going to do something about it, right? I have processed the traumas, disappointments, and failures. I have learned how to manage my thoughts and feelings. I have grown in my emotional intelligence. And I am now processing my future, my victories, my peace, and my joy. So I pray that you all be blessed, and that concludes our session for today.